Hello, podcast fam. I am thrilled to share some exciting news. My book, Sow, Grow, Lead, is officially live on Amazon. This book is more than just my story of starting a nonprofit and building a peanut butter factory in Malawi. So trust me, the ups and downs of that journey are worth the read. It's also packed with practical strategies to help nonprofit leaders like you tackle challenges with clarity, courage, and a whole lot of heart. If you've ever wondered how to turn your vision into reality, navigate the inevitable hurdles, and build something meaningful, whether in your organization or in your own life, this book is for you. I'd be so grateful for your support in spreading the word. Grab your copy of Sow, Grow, Lead in the show notes and on Amazon today. Let's keep sowing seeds of impact together. Are you a nonprofit professional who's feeling overwhelmed and burnt out? Well, welcome to the Lead with Heart podcast. I am your host, Haley Cooper. On this podcast, we will share stories of leadership, courage, and empathy that'll help you learn to take care of yourself, your staff, organization, and community. You will hear from nonprofit leaders who have been in your shoes and have learned best practices to raise more revenue and let's thrive together. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Lead with Heart podcast. This is your host, Haley Cooper, and today I have Julie Ordoñez, the founder of Courage Lab, on the podcast, and I am so excited because I've been following her for a while on LinkedIn, and like I said before, I don't want that to sound creepy, but that's just how we do nowadays, and she just puts out fire content, and I love what she's all about. So I'm just so excited to have this conversation about the work that she does surrounding major gift fundraising and leadership. So welcome, Julie.
Thanks so much for having me, Haley. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, I always love to start with this question because nonprofit fundraising, many people don't think their career is going to end there or start there, end there. That's not going to be the trajectory of their career. So how did you get started in nonprofits and specifically choose this path towards fundraising?
Yeah, I was raised going to church, and I was raised United Methodist, and part of the United Methodist denomination is a lot of community service. And I grew up just volunteering a lot. And that was just what we did as a family. I didn't really know any different. And I grew up in a household where we were fortunate enough to be able to volunteer our time and still have our basic needs met. And so that was just like what I knew and was accustomed to. I've always been a person of action. I think talk is cheap. And even as a kid and growing up, I just wanted to do something that was going to make the world better. And I think that in college, that was really what solidified for me. Okay, I'm going to choose to have a career in the nonprofit world. At the time, I didn't even know that fundraising was a job. I got my degree in communication and Spanish and Latin American studies. And I was volunteering at a crisis pregnancy center that was providing a lot of support for young women and girls who had an unexpected pregnancy. And I just learned so much through that experience about the nonprofit world. And then I moved out to Los Angeles because I was dating this great guy, this independent woman. I knew I wanted to get out of Texas. I'm from Houston originally. Love you, Texas. Don't want to live there. And I moved to LA, and I was dating the man I'm married to now, who's absolutely wonderful and works in the television and film production in that industry. And so I knew that I needed a job when I got here. And I was connected to really great people. And they said, you know what? There's this job at this community center in South Los Angeles. It's a fundraising job. And I think you would be good at it. And I was like, huh? And I really needed a job. So that's the story. I needed work. I was working like part-time at Gap as a sales associate to try to make ends meet. And I was working at a school and it didn't work out. And so I got that job. They hired me. They said, we know you don't have any fundraising experience, but we think that you bring a lot to our culture. And so we're willing to train you on how to do this. Because I guess it was between me and someone else who had more experience, but they felt wasn't the best value add for the culture they were trying to build. So they said, we'd rather hire you and pay to get you some training. So that's what they did. So that was my first fundraising gig. It was extremely stressful, just every fundraising job on the planet. And I was a one-person department. That's my very first job in that world. I updated the website. I wrote press releases. I did the gala. I did all individual giving. I managed interns. I did silent auction. I wrote grants and letters of inquiry. I did the corporate sponsorships, you name it, anything related to fundraising and things not related to fundraising, I did all of them. So that was my first experience. And I'm really grateful that I had that experience because I really got to see it was so challenging that I saw what I was good at with very little support. So it made me curious. Wow, I enjoy this even though it's hellish. So I wonder what it will be like if I actually had a mentor. I wonder what it would be like if I actually had someone who was more experienced than me and was willing to show me behind the scenes, behind the curtain of how to raise multi-millions. And so eventually I did end up getting that in my career later on. But that was really my introduction into fundraising.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. And I'm so honored that you would share that with me, a little bit of your background. And I just love how this idea of service has been instilled in you from a very young age. And I can relate to that as well, growing up in the church. And I just love that you dove right in, you jumped right in and just said, I want to learn. And I know that you have now translated what you learned specifically around major gift fundraising and leadership to become that mentor for other people. Because, like you said, nonprofits are stressful and it can be hard to find that leadership to guide you. And so I love that that's your strength and you're able to translate that into helping more people raise millions of dollars. So I want to talk a little bit more about major gift fundraising and leadership around your principal program, Purge Lab. Like, what are some of the key principles of strategies that have consistently delivered successful outcomes for your clients around major gift fundraising?
The first is taking action. So Courage Lab is designed for leaders who typically do a lot of overthinking. And when I say overthinking, I mean thinking about the potential futures that could all go wrong. If I ask this person for more money, they're going to stop giving. They're going to be offended. They're going to say no, and then I will be crushed. I will be embarrassed. I will be made a fool. They're going to think that I'm ungrateful, and I don't want to appear ungrateful for what they've already given. So I'm not going to ask for more, and I'm going to silently suffer, and slowly this mission will be underfunded. I will be overworked, and we will go out of business. And not only will the leader suffer, but who really ultimately pays the price for our cowardice are our communities, the people who we're raising money for. We say that we're committed to serving communities, but when it comes down to it, ultimately, a lot of times, and not intentionally, right? I'm not saying this is malicious, but unintentionally, we sabotage our mission because we put our comfort zone and our own ego and image above the mission. There was no place, Haley, where you could go and actually face yourself like this. There's no place in the market. Okay, if an executive director, they agree, they're like, you know what, I am a coward. I don't ask these really wealthy people who already give us money. They already give $500, $1,000, $2,000, $5,000, $10,000. And I accept the crumbs. And behind closed doors, I bitch and moan about how they don't give more. And I hear how they give $500,000 to the hospital down the street. And I complain about the fact that they don't give us more, but I never actually ask them for more.
Yeah.
Never actually verbalize and say, no, you're not going to give 10K. You're going to give us 100K. And here are the reasons why I'm asking you, Haley, to give $100,000, because I believe that you are actually mission aligned. You deeply care about this. I know you well enough to be able to call out the character qualities within you that make us aligned, that make you the right partner for this work, right? Do we have the courage to develop those depths of relationships and then actually do something with that? Influence the donor to create an impact that they want to create. And there was no place to go and both learn the skills of major gifts fundraising and become a more courageous leader. Address the fact that we are well-intentioned cowards. And no one else is talking about this. Even now, in 2023, you hear a lot about mindset, money mindset, abundance mindset, which is very popular in the coaching world. And now that's infiltrated the fundraising and nonprofit sector. But I have been talking about courage and cowardice and humility and how actually our image as leaders impedes our growth far more than our strategy does. I've been talking about this for over 5 years. It goes beyond mindset, right? Like positive thinking obviously isn't enough because who we are drags down that positive thinking. At the end of the day, we are at the mercy of who we actually are. And so abundance mindset is where it starts. But if you want to change your thoughts about who you are, if you want to change who you are, that takes action. And so Courage Lab is a space where you can practice raising more money and taking action and learning as you go. There is learning that happens when you take action. For example, Courage Lab is happening right now. It's a 6-week program. It happens in September at the time of this recording, and it happens in February every year. And it's an intimate cohort of leaders. And today was week 2. We come back together in a live coaching call, and leaders report back their wins from the first week. And one leader said, I got a 10K gift from a first-time donor because I implemented what Julie teaches. Me, I'm not surprised. I'm never surprised because what I teach works, right? Over and over again. And I've been doing this. The things that I teach are evergreen major gift strategies. The difference for people is that they finally step into taking action that they have talked themselves out of for years. And the money is always right there. They just have to do what it takes to receive it and stop doing the things that are getting in the way. So up until Courage Lab, folks are usually spending a bunch of time doing busy work and then telling themselves that they don't have time to fundraise, which is insane, right? Because Haley, if you and I running a business, if we don't have time to do sales, we don't have a business. So it's like, how do you not have time to do the thing that puts gas in the car? If your job is to drive, like, how do you not have time to do the thing that's going to get you the gas? And it's, to me, if we're actually really honest with ourselves, it's a conversation about integrity. You are hired to do a job, which is to raise money. Not only did you enter a contract with the employer to do that job, but you entered a contract with yourself. And the longer that you don't do the thing that you're supposed to do, you deteriorate your confidence in yourself. And downward spiral we go. And so the way to break out of that is to get into a group of people who are doing this alongside you. Because as you and I both know from personal experience and from working with so many clients, that fundraising can be so lonely. And we enable that. We accept that reality. And so the way to change that is get around other people who are not just raising more money, but they're prioritizing becoming courageous people. That's why I created Courage Lab, because change doesn't happen in isolation. It can't. We become more courageous when we take the right actions in community. We actually get that accountability that we need. And that's why Courage Lab is a group program. So you get me as your mentor, where you're getting guidance, you're understanding how to prioritize your time, and you're around leaders who are also doing this alongside you, and you get to learn from them and with them. And a lot of times my clients come and they don't have that. They would thrive with accountability and mentorship, but they don't have that in the environment that they work in now. And that's why they're not raising more money. Not because they're bad at fundraising, but because they don't have the support that they need. They need training, they need mentorship, and they need accountability, not just one. Just one of those things isn't enough. I know this because I've been doing this for over a decade, right? So Courage Lab is about taking action and learning as you go and being able to understand what makes you successful.
That is so good. There's so much goodness in there. And I'm like, sing it from the mountaintops, girl, because more people need to hear this. And I know how much leadership can be lonely and isolating, and especially when you go down into that negative spiral. So I love that you're creating this space for people to come together and hold each other accountable and also change their thoughts and beliefs, which then influence their actions. And obviously it leads to inviting more people into the mission and doing more good in the world. So I think this is just such a special place, a much needed space that, like you said, there really isn't something out there. There's associations and groups, but nothing really that provides this specific content and this place for people to be brave, to be bold, to ask for more money and have someone guiding them along the way. Can you share, like you just shared an example and I love, like, I want to celebrate that person who got that 10K because it's only going to, once you ask once, you get more courageous and more confident. So can you share some more real world examples or case studies from your work with the Courage Lab where effective leadership played pivotal role in securing major gifts and what lessons these people, your clients, have gained from having the courage to ask?
Yes. So there's so many clients at this point. I've done 6 cohorts and I've had anywhere from my very first one, I think I had 3 leaders inside. And now it's anywhere from 8 to 16, 24. So I've been doing this for a while now, and there's so many amazing transformations that I just never get sick of this. It's the thing that makes it's never gets old.
Yeah.
So, one example that's just wild that you would never expect this really simple thing to unlock a 6-figure gift. I had a client who works at a private school and is a development officer there. And she was talking about how she has these really great relationships with a lot of students, and they come in during the day and ask her for advice and are trying to figure out what they're going to do with their life. And she's this awesome mentor and has all of these relationships where students just pop in and pick her brain and ask for help. And she just kept saying how she just doesn't have time. She just doesn't have the time that she needs to devote to development. Which that's such a rare story, isn't it, Haley? How people just don't have time. That's unique to her.
I had one of those conversations today. So yeah.
Every day, right? I'm like, oh gosh. Because there's some things that everybody needs to take action, right? But there are some things that are absolutely not formulaic. It is custom feedback based on what this individual person is going through. And I had suggested, have you ever considered office hours? Putting a sign on your door for students that says, hey, love you, come back from 2 to 4 on these days of the week, and let's talk then. And keep your door closed and open it for your office hours. She said, oh, I got to try that. We get back together for the coaching call the week after. I said, hey, how'd it go with the office hours thing? She goes, well, I did it. I put a sign on my door. I had time to call some donors that I've been meaning to call, and I closed a $100,000 unrestricted gift. And she goes, who knew that I just needed a sign on my door and to set some boundaries? I said, I knew. I have to resist often saying, I told you so. You know what I'm saying? Nobody likes that person. But it happens to me all the time. I'm like, Yeah, it is that one little thing. It's not like you need to cut out students from your life altogether, right? We don't need to go to these extremes, but we do need to set limits. That's one example where now, what if that's the impact, if that's the ROI of 1 week of doing this? What is the long term return on investment for doing office hours, right? That is exponential. And so they're not always massive overhauls that need to be made. Sometimes it is something that is a smaller tweak that has a much bigger impact, right? That's one story that I think of that can apply to so many leaders because in the nonprofit world, we're helpers, we're servants, we love to serve. And we have to set limits on that if we intend to grow. If we intend to grow our impact, we cannot do everything.
Imagine a fundraising partner that not only helps you raise more money, but also supports you in retaining your donors. A partner that helps you raise funds both online and on location so you can grow your impact faster. That's DonorBox, a comprehensive suite of tools, services, and resources that give fundraisers just like you a custom solution to tackle your unique challenges, helping you achieve the growth and sustainability your organization needs, helping you help others. Visit donorbox.org to learn more. Yes, and I love that. And I think sometimes people just need someone to give them permission. You know, it's the thing that you need to do. It's been in the back of your mind, but you need someone to be like, okay, it's okay to do that, and for people to take action. I know in my own life, I needed a coach to be like, you can block off your calendar from like before your kids go to school and when they get home. And I needed that permission because I felt like I needed to respond to people all the time. But just that simple act, I was like, nope, block it off on my calendar. People can't contact me from this time to this time. So I think that's so powerful. And then you see the ROI. So you talked about a lot of people, major gift fundraising it does involve building strong relationships with donors. And like we've been talking about, that usually gets on the back burner of all the other things that we need to do. But that is such a foundational piece of major gift fundraising. So, what are some essential leadership qualities or skills that fundraisers should possess to cultivate these meaningful connections and secure those amazing donations?
That's a great question. I would say the first foundational piece is humility. You can no longer put your comfort zone above the mission. You need to humble yourself and accept that you are going to need to get comfortable being uncomfortable, talking to people face to face about money. Negotiation would be another one. So, the skill of not accepting the scraps. When you know that someone is deeply passionate and they're all in for the mission, or they're all in for your organization, they really love what you do, or even the way that you do it, and you have a relationship there, you should push back. And this is what I teach my more advanced clients that I work with one on one. We talk a lot about negotiation, and it can't be we're coming up with opportunities for people to give and ask amounts based on what they gave the previous year. That is not going to get us to the level of growth that we need to achieve. We need to start thinking about exponential impact. I would say empathy, being able to empathize with people who are really wealthy. We struggle to do that in the nonprofit world. We can empathize with the poor. And we're very comfortable doing that because many of us have experienced poverty. When we think about someone who is an ultra high net worth individual, it becomes much more challenging because we typically see those people as needing to do more than they're doing. So we're coming already from a place of judgment and criticism. It's really hard to build a relationship with someone that you condemn and criticize. So when we have these beliefs about people, or that if we ask them for more, that they're so fragile that we will offend them somehow. All of this is based on how we perceive ourselves, how we perceive others, and the world around us. It points to the fact that we're living in this limited world where we think the worst of what we've experienced in the past is likely to happen again. And community is so important because we must get around people who are taking bold action and becoming more courageous and have faith in humanity. And that includes wealthy people. So I would say humility, courage, empathy, negotiation. Courage is paramount. The best strategy in the world, the smartest tactics in the world are wasted on people who are cowards because they don't have the guts to implement what they learn. I think there is so much good advice and good counsel, but people don't implement it because you need to be a courageous person. In order to get different results, we have to become different people. So it's deeply personal. So I would recommend if someone is really looking to exponentially raise more, invest in your personal development. That's why Courage Lab is both personal and professional. For people who just want to keep it professional, there's a place for that. Totally get it. That's not me. Like I want people to raise more money, but I think even more than that, I want them to become courageous leaders. That impacts every area of their life. And that actually becomes a sustainable solution to the funding problem. If you're courageous, then it doesn't matter how difficult things get. You are unstoppable. Yeah. That's a sustainable solution rather than just teaching you tactic and strategies that make you feel good in the moment, right? But you don't actually have the guts to implement it. And part of getting that guts is getting around people who are also pursuing that same endeavor of becoming courageous. So I would say courage is number one in terms of the leadership characteristic that nonprofit executives and leaders need to raise major gifts.
Wow, that's amazing. And I love that you implement that into your programs and create that community space. And a lot of what I pitch is that fundraising is an inside job. So it has to be an internal thing for your own self that then reflects into the internal culture of your organization and beyond. So I think that we can relate there on that. You have to do your inner work to influence the people around you. And you mentioned that once you do the work that you do with your program, with the courage, they can navigate any challenge. And obviously, we all know the philanthropic landscape is ever evolving and there's different things coming at us at all times, and we have to be primed and ready. So how can nonprofit leaders stay ahead of the curve and adapt their major gift fundraising strategies to meet the changing expectations and preferences of their donors, but also just the philanthropic landscape in general?
I think that my recommendation is to constantly be learning and to stay curious about your donors. I think that there's a lot of advice about being donor centric, and that was really the school of thought that I was brought up in.
Yeah.
And I think now how my perspective has really shifted is I want to build mission rooted friendships. That's what I say is like the epitome of major gifts fundraising. The pinnacle of that is it's really mission rooted friendship that you develop partnerships with these people and you recognize that you're both on the same mission and you have different roles that you play in that mission. But there's no better way to build a friendship than being on a team with someone.
Mm-hmm.
And how can you deal with all of the changes and the way in which the industry is adapting? You've got to change. You've got to adapt. You've got to constantly be learning. You need to be growing. If you're doing the same things you've been doing and you're not getting better results, then you need to change. What you do needs to change. And I think there's so many leaders who are longing for that. And again, community is paramount. Getting around other people who are also committed to personal growth, who are committed to changing and doing whatever it takes to reach the mission. That's so key. I think that the future of fundraising is pastoral. It's helping wealthy people who care become the most generous version of themselves. So not only do you need to be clear on who you are and what your core values are, but you need to step into your role as a leader in your donor's life and help them achieve their mission. This takes a lot of courage, but it takes deep relational investment in people. I think that's the future of fundraising. The wealthy are getting wealthier. So we can't keep asking for the same amounts of money. We've got to build relationships with people where we can influence them to become truly generous. That takes really bold conversation. That takes asking really powerful questions. That takes getting into people's business.
Yeah.
And nonprofit leaders oftentimes are afraid to even talk numbers and money with people. Like I always tell my clients, I'm like, we're not coming for their money. We're coming for their entire life. And that includes their money. I don't just want to stop at your money. I want you to open up your network. I want you to open up doors and opportunities. I want you to get the CEO in the room with your friends and your coworkers. I want you to bring this nonprofit into your life. And that includes your wallet. And I think we're so focused on the money that we miss out on the true riches of life, which is like relationship.
Mm-hmm.
When someone's really in your corner, they'll move heaven and earth for you. And we play it a little too safe. We lie. We say, oh, thank you so much for the 5K. It's awesome. And we're like thinking in our head, really wish that it would have been 25K. We want more out of these partnerships, but we don't say it. We want people to give more, but we don't do what it takes to build the influence and earn the right to speak into their life and say 5K is actually not good enough. I think that you care about this issue way more than 5K. Am I wrong? Like having the pastoral relationship, meaning you're guiding them to become who they long to be. It's so much more than money. That is what I envision that is evergreen, that is recession proof, that is the future of fundraising and major gifts, is helping people who are wealthy become the most generous version of themselves. And I think that is the unique role of the fundraiser.
Hey there, podcast family. If you're like me and deeply committed to improving your leadership skills and fostering better connections with your team, I've got something truly amazing to share with you. I'm proud to introduce the EMC Masterclass, something I talk about often as a certified trainer. It's an incredible program developed by the renowned Dr. Lola Gershfeld, an organizational psychologist and corporate emotional connection expert. You might remember her from a podcast episode where she shared invaluable insights into the world of emotional connection. Dr. Gershfeld's EMC Leaders courses are designed for anyone working with people, whether you're a manager, supervisor, team leader, educator, coach, mentor, or a team member. This program is truly for everyone looking to enhance their communication and collaboration skills to raise more revenue for their mission. Now, let me tell you why the EMC Masterclass is a game changer. Dr. Gershfeld's groundbreaking emotional connection process has been integrated into top universities' curriculum and recognized by international organizations like ICF, HRCI, and SHRM. Humans are wired to seek emotional safety, and when we feel safe, we're more likely to take risks, share innovative ideas, and collaborate effectively. The EMC process is the catalyst for creating that emotional safety within your team. The virtual EMC Masterclass consists of 8 modules with 4 hours of expertly recorded material, 13 quizzes to reinforce your learning, and a workbook filled with activities for offline practice and something I still refer to daily. Ready to become an emotional connection master? Dr. Gershfield is offering an exclusive detail for our podcast listeners. Use the code LEADWITHHEART to enjoy a generous 10% discount on the EMC Masterclass. Head over to emcleaders.com and enroll in the EMC Masterclass today. Oh, I love that perspective. I love that pastoral mindset of helping people define who they're going to be and how to come about that by investing in the mission and being their most generous self. And I think, yeah, it takes out a lot of that fear or the money mindset, right? Because like you said, it's not about the money. It's about helping people become their most generous versions of themselves. And I love that you said, I feel like you should coin the term mission-rooted friendship, because I think that's such a valuable
copyrighted. So yeah.
Oh, good. I'm like, that's a good
quotes and everything. Courage Lab. It's my trademark. I own all that.
I love that idea of mission-rooted friendship. And again, it takes us out of the equation and really focuses on that mission piece. And I think as things are evolving, if you have, like you said, the wealthier are getting wealthier. And if you have those relationships, you should be able to encourage those people to continue to give alongside you to navigate those challenges. And I think accountability and transparency are a huge part of that, because a lot of times I've worked in grants and we shy away from telling foundations why we haven't met our metrics or why we haven't met our goals. Being transparent and accountable and helping them understand our challenges and then saying, this is what we need more of to be able to achieve this. But I think a lot of people shy away from that and don't really have that accountability and transparency. So I know that Courage Lab focuses on leadership development in the nonprofit perspective. You've already elaborated on a bunch of specific leadership challenges, but can you talk about anything more of what specific things arise in your major gift fundraising program and how your program continues to address this?
Yeah, so Courage Lab is great for executive directors, development directors, major gifts officers. That's typically who's in there. And they're used to talking themselves out of asking for more. And the first question that I ask is, what has stopped you up until this point from asking for more? And they'll say things like, I don't know my donors well enough. I don't know the right approach. I don't know how much to ask for. I don't really want to offend them or seem like I'm ungrateful because they've already given so much, or what I would consider to be a lot of money. These are usually like the most common reasons why people haven't asked for more. And so we address all of that. And in week one, the live coaching session and training is to help them identify who are the donors who are truly in their corner. Like you might actually be focused on the wrong people. Oftentimes we're focused on people who maybe have a lot of wealth, but have no intention of giving a lot of that away. And nonprofits, it's like they get mesmerized by these people. And it's actually noise and a distraction, because there are people who maybe aren't as wealthy, but are extremely passionate. And it's those people that we need to be focusing on. And so week one, that's who we identify. And I'm like, okay, so I go through this list of criteria. I'm like, okay, so Haley, write down how many people you just thought of who meet that criteria. And they'll say, oh, I thought of 3 people. I thought of 4. I thought of 5. Great. So your first challenge in the program is you are going to call those people and you're going to find out why they give. And if it's appropriate, you're going to ask them for more. And sometimes we want so badly to get it right that we don't do anything at all. That is actually what's wrong with our fundraising. It's not our strategy. It's that we talk ourselves out of taking imperfect action that can ultimately lead to raising money. It's the imperfect daily action that we take that raises exponentially more. Because if you ask someone for 10K, there's a chance they'll say yes. If you identify the right people, right? And that's what Courage Lab is about, is learning how to focus your energy and all of your fundraising efforts on the right opportunities, the right donors, rather than spinning your wheels. And once they do, there's instant results. People are like, wow, oh my gosh. And they just give spontaneously $2,000 gift, $10,000 gift, $40,000 gift. This has happened every single cohort, every single time, whether you're in a big city in a big market or you're in a rural area, doesn't really matter. There's always people who want to step up and do more. So the very first week out of the gate, my agenda is to help leaders get a really quick win. Here's what you need to do to get a win this week. Because then they start to see, wow, this is possible for me too. All these awesome testimonials that Julie has, that could be me. And they start to see what it actually takes to raise the money. It doesn't take this Herculean effort. That it is possible. Anytime you decide to, you can raise major gifts. And I will show you how, right? So now that you've gotten this win, let's talk about boundaries and let's help you get the support that you need and stop doing so many things that are keeping you from having that powerful moment of raising that 10K gift. What is getting in the way of you doing this even more often? And let's talk about the things that are on your calendar that are no longer mission critical. What is absolutely not necessary that you could renegotiate, change the deadline, eliminate from your plate? Let's address those things. And so every single week is designed. I know what challenge they're going to face before it comes. I know what the arc and the journey that someone goes on who's moving from overthinking and not really happy with their results to feeling really confident and seeing, wow, I can do this. I know what it takes. And I just need to stop thinking about it and do it. They have that aha moment. They're like, wow, I just need to just do it. I'm like, yeah, you do. It's not that precious.
Yeah.
And so it's really an honor that I get to do in my life to walk with people through that journey of transformation and seeing those aha moments. I love it.
It is. And then it's fun for your clients too to see those results and see how much more of an impact and what a greater difference they can make in the world just because they needed that little boost of courage that you give them. And I think what a more beautiful world we're going to have where people are becoming more generous and influencing more people. The change is, it's going to change the world. So I love that idea of how you frame this and how you really come alongside people. So as we wrap up, without being humble, describe what you value most about yourself, your work, or just your life in general.
Oh, I think the thing I'm most proud of is my marriage. I've been married for 12 and a half years to an amazing man. His name's Trey. And I love our relationship. And we're one of our core values in our marriage is community and generosity and courage for sure. And we are best friends. We give each other feedback. We're both committed to growth. We're both very type A personalities, but we're very different. I'm a big time extrovert. He's a big time introvert. We host a lot of parties and dinners and book clubs in our home for people. We're just committed to squeezing all of the juice out of life that we've been given, all of our talent, all of our skills, everything that we've been given, everything we've got. We want to use it to serve others, to love them. And I think that's the thing I'm most proud of is it hasn't always been easy and marriage is super challenging, but I love who we are together and what we build and how we invest in others. I think is like my favorite thing. And we have a lot of fun doing it. But yeah, he's my biggest cheerleader and he can teach basically most of my course anyway. Like he's just heard so much of this, Haley. But yeah, I think like having him in my corner and just as my partner in life gives me a massive advantage.
Wow, that's so beautiful. And I feel like you guys really embody the work that you do and that you have that support system that then you can pour into other people. I think that's so important and what everyone needs. So where can people find you and sign up? This will probably come out closer towards the end of the year. So where can people find you, follow along with you, learn more about the Courage Lab?
Yeah, so you can go to my website, julieordoñez.com, Ordonez. I'm also on LinkedIn. You can follow me there. I'm on Instagram, Julie M. Ordoñez, all the places. I invite you to join my email list. I share a lot of amazing Major Gifts trainings, and I do workshops once a quarter. If you're interested in Courage Lab, get on the Courage Lab waitlist so that you can be the first to know when the doors open. And I have a podcast myself, Nonprofit Courage Lab. You can listen to that. I'm all over the internet. So come find me and say hi. I'd love to connect.
Well, thank you so much, Julie. This has just made my day and been such a joy to talk with you and learn more about how you inspire others to be courageous.
Thank you, Haley.
If you have valued these stories or learned something from what you've heard, please share this podcast episode or follow me on LinkedIn. Thank you so much for your support, and together we can build a better community and world.